What's up guys, and this is the first video of the second year on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about tips and tricks for when you're at the beginning of the process and you're planning out your build. So, planning is a big part of building a successful custom car. If you have an unlimited budget, then sure, you can just throw whatever at whatever, hope it works out and figure it out as you go along. But you'll end up using up a lot more time and a lot more money doing that. So I've put together a few tips here that will help you if you're interested in building something that's completely unique in your own, so that you're not wasting so much time and not wasting so much money. And the number one thing is number one here, literally, and that is research. When you take on a new build, when you buy a new car, when you're trying to decide what you want to do to it to make it faster or nicer or however you want it to change, you need to keep in mind that not all cars, as a matter of fact, no cars are exactly the same. A modification that works really well on one car may not work very well on another car. A car that does not have a very restricted intake isn't going to benefit very much from putting an aftermarket intake manifold on it, versus a car that does probably will. Boosted cars respond to certain modifications differently than unboosted cars are, and there's just so many variables that honestly, every time I get into a new vehicle, and this has been this way with the Red Grand Prix 2, the first few months I have one, I don't really make many changes. I mean, I've been at it long enough at this point that I kind of know certain things that I like to change on pretty much whatever. But the first few months, I pretty much just research. I get into the communities, get into the forums, read what people have done and what they haven't done, look up information online about the car more specifically, find out things that the engine and transmission are good at, not good at, strong or weak or whatever, just so that you've got that knowledge and you've got that as a base to set up what you want to do moving forward. That gets us to the second tip, and that is set goals. Decide prior to building the car what you want it to be able to do. Are you trying to build a show car? Are you trying to build a race car? If you're trying to build a race car, what kind of race car? Do you want it to be fast in a straight line? Do you want it to run road courses well? Do you want to build a dedicated autocross car? Do you want to build just a nice street car? The thing is, depending on what your goals are, certain parts will work better or worse for you. And also some things that might be really expensive might be completely unnecessary and may not help you at all for the goal that you have set. So having a good, clear vision of where you want the car to go prior to doing a lot of modifications really makes a difference and is completely worth doing. Number 3, this one's not so fun, but you have to think budget. You have to look at how much it's going to cost to take the car that you bought to where you want it to be. And that's not always the same, and this is why you have to do the first 2 steps first. You need to research the car so that you know where it is. You know how far away it is from that goal, and you need to know what you're going to have to do to get it there. You need to have already set goals though, also, so that you know where you're trying to go. If your goal, for example, is to make a Mustang an 11-second drag car, that's not a huge goal for a Mustang. It's been pretty well done over and over and over again. So it's really easy to figure out what you want to do with that. However, if for some reason you just love Geo Metros, but you really want a 9-second drag car, it's important to know from your research how far away that is from being a reality, and from your goals, how much you're going to have to do to get to that point. And then you have to realize, this is what this is realistically going to cost, and is this something I still want to do? And then you may need to adjust your goals. If you've only got $2,000 to spend, that Metro isn't going to be a 9-second drag car. It just isn't. It's not going to happen. But if you set a goal that's either closer to its starting point, say you want to build a 14-second drag car, for example, or whatever, you just want to build a street car with a nice stereo, Then your budget can be a lot smaller, and that will tell you right up front whether you're headed in a direction to where you can actually complete this project. And I could not tell you how many people miss this step. They get head first into a project, then they're $10,000 into a build and realize they're gonna need to spend probably another $20,000, $25,000 to get it where it's supposed to be. Then they get discouraged and they give up and they quit. And so many cars have wound up being sold half built or being sold in pieces because people just didn't think about the budget. They didn't plan ahead. Then the fourth step, let's say you've done your research, you know what you have to do, you have your ideas, then you've got your goals, so you know where you're headed, and you've worked out the budget and found something that works for you that you can afford. The next step, plan the build. And the reason why you need to do this, it's very tempting sometimes just to jump straight at specific things that you think are cool and overlook the less interesting things until you can afford them or until you just get around to it. But the thing is, you can lose a lot of money by doing things in the wrong order or by not thinking about one part while you're planning another one. For example, let's say you didn't outline this well and you decide that you're gonna have to build the transmission, and then come to find out you're also gonna need another torque converter, but you didn't really plan that out. So you pull the transmission and have it built and you put it back in, and now you haven't done the torque converter yet. You've just lost money. Now the transmission has to come out again. All that kind of things. I mean, that's a pretty weird example because I think most people would have probably thought of that. But a lot of times by thinking about things that you're going to need, then grouping them together, which is in the outline step, and then you're gonna know what things you should do together, which things you should do in what order. For example, if you're trying to build a really powerful drag car, you know you're gonna need a lot more power than stock. It's probably a good idea to work up the suspension and the drivetrain prior to building the crap out of the engine. Because if you're out trying to test run a 700 or 800 horsepower car that, let's say, stock was 250, then you're probably gonna break something because you haven't built up the supporting stuff around it. Just like with a GTP specifically, if you go, well, my build's gonna get me to a 3-inch pulley eventually, but the pulley's not expensive, I'm gonna put that on now. Then you're out playing around in a car that's not set up and does not have the supporting modifications for that pulley drop. All that extra boost is making it spark not quite crazy, and now you've blown your engine up. Planning is really important, and having an outline will really help you guide yourself to where you need to be and to be as cost effective as possible. Then the fifth thing, and that is, and I know people probably don't want to hear this either, have a beater. If you're doing a serious build, now if you're just dressing up your existing car and your goal is pretty low and you're not going to spend a whole lot of time with it, then you may not need this. But if you're doing a very serious build, if you're trying to build something that makes a lot of power, is going to be really fast, you need to plan that there's going to be a lot of downtime. There's going to be times when the transmission is out of the car for weeks, or the engine's out of the car for weeks, maybe months. Maybe something breaks that you didn't expect. You've got to replan something. If that's your car that you're depending on to get back and forth to work, you are really going to have a rough time with that. You're either going to have to not do it correctly, cut corners and do things however you have to so that your downtime is really short because you have nothing else to drive, or you're going to do it right and you're going to have long periods of time you're bumming rides from your mom. That's not good. So even if it's just a piece of junk, as long as it's reliable, something else to drive when the project car is down. Never make your project your daily. It's the reason I have 2 GTPs. I wouldn't build the crap out of one and only have that one. I have always had a backup car. It is super important, even coming down to just the point where you've got the engine apart and you realize you need a tool and that's the only car you have. How do you get somewhere to get the tool? These are the kind of things I'm thinking. You have to have another way to get back and forth. So that's that. Now, I have not built my project car yet. The 99 is going to be the project car, and we are in the process right now of planning that build, and hopefully this year there's going to be a lot of videos about that. But to get a little car specific information, I've enlisted the help of a new friend I've met, and I'm gonna throw you over to him right now. If you've ever heard of a GTP that goes by the name Hellboi, then you know who I'm about to announce or introduce. And so take it away, Terrell.
It's Terrell Smith. I'm a guest on Salem's page. So what we're going to discuss is my heavy modded GTP. A couple things I do and don't like. One was the mod I did that was a waste of time was the wall fuel pumps. I have a bad experience with those. They tend to fall off up top on fuel pressure. So those that run them, look out for that. Take a fuel pressure gauge and scan for those. Recommended pumps I will use from experience is Air Motor 48 AEM. Good mod that I did was E85. It helped with being able to run a smaller pulley and add more timing. So that was a good modification will help. There's a lot of mods that's done to this engine as well that also helps. Another thing that people get misguided is dropping pulley sizes. You can't just drop pulley sizes, you have to add flow mods at the same time. So boost and supercharged cars are just a restriction. So when you add flow mods such as headers, heads, ported limbs, etc., your boost drops, which is the reason why you drop pulleys. Cams make a tremendous, what would you say, a tremendous big deal of how the engine performs as well. 3, we would go with spark plugs. I stay away from platinum plugs on boosted cars. I recommend using like NGKs. That was a good thing. Autolights doesn't tend to last long, especially running E85 from my experience. Now every car is different, but that's what I recommend. Last, we'll go with headers. It's not good to run like a 1 3/4 size header when you have stock heads. I recommend using like a 1 5/8 header opposed to running a 3/4 on stock heads and then using a 1 3/4 on ported heads. That's Terrell. I'm Terrell Smith, and hopefully that was some good information for you guys.
So first of all, that car is car goals. For sure, I absolutely love that car. So when he showed that he was interested in being a part of this channel as well, I jumped at the chance. If you guys would like to check out his channel, I'll link it down in the description. He's got other videos and more information on his car. Definitely worth a watch, so check that out. Other than that, I believe we're done for this one. So make sure you drop me a like if you liked this video, or dislike it if you don't. We'll take any kind of interaction we can get. Subscribe if you're new here and hit that bell icon, and I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to check the shirts out, link in description. See you next time. Peace.